a lot of liberal leaning people hear about these sort of traditional gender roles that you have in your Iranian culture, which are very similar to traditional gender roles in a lot of other cultures, that it inherently feels oppressive, right? So there's a kind of a glass half empty view of that. And they think about the situations in which that doesn't work well for people. So for people who are naturally atypical for their gender, for people who are gay, for people, for women who want to pursue careers. There are so many situations where people of a liberal nature tend to think about the outliers and who those traditional gender roles don't work for, or the situations in which they're enforced in an abusive manner. For example, the man who's like, make me a sandwich, woman,
Mhm.
instead of, oh, my lovely wife, thank you for a beautiful dinner, right? But you spoke of those gender roles in this sort of affectionate way. And I just want to give you an opportunity to voice that, whether that's, informed by your Persian culture or just your own way of thinking about what's it like for those who willingly choose those gender roles, or maybe who have been handed those gender roles by tradition but feel nourished by that tradition.
And thank you for asking that because I think it's something that isn't spoken to or about often. And I a lot of my view on this, yes, it was heavily influenced by just my own upbringing. And in our culture, yes, the dad always goes and makes the money, and the mom's home taking care of the kids. Until a mom who says, I'd really like to go to work. I have not seen any uncle, father, anyone around me say, no, woman, you're not. You're staying home and you're going to do your duty. I've never seen it like that. I've always seen it as, okay, if you're going to do that, how is it going to work with the kids? Because in our minds, once you have children, they're your number one. They are not number two. They are not second to your work. They are not second to your career. They are always number one. And so, if that's the case, you want to work, how are the children still going to be number one in your life? And you can still do your career. So, it's either you work it around their schooling, you figure out maybe a few hours after school if you have to have another auntie or someone pick them up, fine, so be it. That's okay. But the kids will never not know their mom and dad. And most times, what happens is the kids would go to grandma and grandpa, which is still family. And so that was still acceptable. It was still okay. It was part of the family. They're going to be with grandma and grandpa. That's why a lot of times grandma and grandpas are either next door, literally, or they live in the house with mom and dad and the kids because they are always. The babysitters, really, that's what their job is once they become older and they can do it. They love to do it, actually. So for me, growing up and seeing that, that was just normal. But I never, ever thought I wasn't going to be able to have my own career. That never crossed my mind. If anything, my dad was very encouraging of that. Make sure you can take care of yourself. So was my mom. Make sure you have your own finances, that you're not dependent on a man. It's good that he's there and he can provide, but don't depend on him to provide. Like, we were still raised in a way where you had independence. But at the same time, we were also very celebrated for being feminine and being female and how beautiful that is to be a female, to take care of your looks, to take care of your face, to take care of your body, to make sure you still do your hair, to make sure that you still are presentable for your man. And not because of some vanity, but just because it's a beautiful thing to do as a female. Why not throw on some lipstick for him and make him smile? Why not look pretty for him so that he feels proud to have you as his wife? Again, it's not to say like, oh, that has to do with misogynistic views. It's not that. It's I'm a female and there's this beauty about me that I like to present. And part of that is looking good. Part of that is making sure the home is kept. Part of that is making sure he's fed well. There's a joy that comes out of that. And again, that's I'm able to have that joy because I'm not restricted in any other way. If I was restricted, let's say if I had the joy of wanting to do all this, but I wanted to also have a career and somehow I was restricted to have a career, yes, then resentment creeps up and I start hating the household and I don't want to cook for you anymore because you're not letting me have freedom. Sure, that shows up, but that's never been the case. I've never seen that around me where a husband, boyfriend, man in their life has said, no, woman, you're not going to do that. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I'm sure in some families it did, and I feel horrible for them if that's the case. But that's not often. Not in my family's huge. My God, if we go back to the Bay Area, there's a huge family system that's up there for me. And none of us had that. There was never restriction. All of us girls, if anything, I mean, if I think about it right now, all my girl cousins, my God, we all have our own careers. Some of us are on businesses. We do really well. And on top of it, have children, raise them ourselves. If it's not us, it's our grandparents. It's their grandparents, I should say. So we don't feel suffocated at all. And if anything, I love the fact that our families taught us to love our gender roles, to appreciate what those are, to embrace them instead of fighting them, and to give people the freedom to kind of explore as much as they need to, but never ever ever make them feel bad or ashamed for being the certain gender that they are. It's kind of like this whole, we're going to kind of sidetrack here, sorry, but kind of like this whole idea that black people are oppressed and white people just have some kind of privilege. And that's kind of the frame that we have to look at society as. Blacks being so oppressed because of white privilege. And I'm 100% against that mentality. Why have that outlook? Why do I need to look at myself as oppressed because I'm a female? I've never been taught that. I've never seen the world that way. That just because I am a female, I have less than somebody else. It's never affected me in career, in life, in school, in friendships ever, because that mentality has never been taught to me. If anything, the opposite has been taught. I have all the advantages as anybody else, male or female. And because of that, I've always felt like everything's great. I can have anything I want. I can't look at your color and assume you have it better off than I do. I've never done that. And again, because of the way I was raised. But now we are taught that no, you are an oppressive group. You should understand that. Well, of course, then all of a sudden my worldview changes. And if I look at things from an oppressive lens and I see things as me less than, of course I'm going to go into the world thinking I've got to fight for everything and I've got to make sure I have all the rights in the world because that's what you've been taught. But it's not true. What rights is it that you don't have? I'm still trying to figure that out. What rights, even trans people, feel like they don't have that I have. I don't get it. To use a bathroom, there's a bathroom. Use it. What you want to use the girls? Why? There's still a bathroom. If you have to pee, there's still one for you. Go pee. Why does it have to be the one that's labeled for female and you're a man and you want to use mine? It just makes no sense that you think that's a right you don't have.